All right, all right, all right. And we are streaming live. It is good to see you all today for another week of This Week in Supervision. And we've got a great topic to speak about. I'm going to tell you, this one might get kind of deep and hit home in some areas, but we're going to jump into it. We're going to be talking today about a topic, and I'm going to give you the title. What is splitting? And why does it protect you from the truth? All right. So if you didn't know anything about splitting today, until today, today is your day to learn something that is going to stick and glue and hopefully change things as far as how you interact with others, how you see others who may experience this, how you function in practice, and how you supervise. All right, so let's go on and get into it. We got a lot to cover, uh, and we just got a small bit of time, but we're going to be covering what is splitting, when does splitting commonly occur, and what mental health disorder is splitting most associated with? Do you think you know the answers to those questions so far? If not, you're going to know a lot about it because we got examples. Oh man, we got so much. Let me get into it. All right. So I normally like to start our groups that we have with going around the group, seeing if there's anything that we need to case, any wins that we've had. I always say, are there any wins that you've experienced, any stuck points, any challenges, anything new? Um, that you would want to talk about or any case scenarios that you want to speak about. But then after that, I generally like to try to get into a few test prep questions. But since I've had the innovation, I've been able to kind of narrow a lot of the test prep questions into real life scenarios. And we went through a whole bunch. I don't even have time to talk about it, but this was about half of what we went through right here with the splitting. And so I have a question for you. This is the multiple choice question that I presented to the group. And it says splitting is most strongly associated with which personality disorder? Which personality disorder do you believe splitting is most associated with? A, narcissistic personality disorder. B, borderline personality disorder. C, antisocial personality disorder. Or D, obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And we're going to get right on to the answer after the drum roll. Boom. And the answer for this one is B, borderline personality disorder. This is where we see splitting at its essence, but this does not mean that splitting is exclusive to borderline personality disorder. We also see it in one of the others or a few of the others mentioned, especially one that comes to mind, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. And this is just really interesting because the crazy thing is I'm just getting a deeper knowledge as I'm teaching and training and in practice. You just get more knowledge and things just start making sense. All right, let's move on. So the question is, what is splitting? If someone's to ask you what is splitting, how would you describe that? Well, we're going to break that down right here. Okay, and I love this definition. All right. So splitting is most commonly occurs in borderline personality disorder. So this is a different thing when we start talking about personality disorders because often individuals that have personality disorders, their reality of how things exist in the real world are sometimes not quite aligned with the way others think. They're not delusional, but yeah, it's dang near close sometimes. Let me tell you. It is, and this is just based on symptoms. Very functional. Just like me and you, could be me or you. And so let's just keep that in mind. All right. It is a defense mechanism characterized by black and white thinking. Okay. Black and white thinking. Thinking where individuals view themselves or others or situations. Okay. So themselves, you're viewing yourself, you're viewing other people or situations as entirely good or entirely bad. There's really just no in between when we're splitting, when we're at our essence. And splitting is, that's what we see, like I said, a lot of times with borderline personality disorder. There's no gray. Okay. And so there's no middle ground. It's also seen in other conditions like MPD. Now, I'm going to show this clip really quickly. This is a clip of Melvin. Now, Melvin, I'm not saying he's got borderline personality disorder and he's we want to affirm him, but we're using his situation as a example of how things can occur and be developed. So I want you to listen closely. I've been playing Melvin for the last 3 weeks. Um, and you know, because his case really hits me in a lot of ways when I think about supporting individuals with helping to process someone who has experienced trauma or who might split or who might have borderline personality disorder or depression, as in his situation. He has depression or experienced depression at this time and sexual abuse. So, again, another trigger warning on this is just a 1 minute. But again, when I'm working with my clients, I want them to, I mean, my supervisees, I want them to be able to identify real life situations and be able to see and understand better how this becomes a reality in some people's lives and how many times how disorder is developed. Um, and so, of course, if Melvin was one of my clients, this is something I would want to screen him for just based on some of the things that he said right here. But let's go into it. Let me stop the share to make sure I get the volume. Let's see. All right. Yep, we got the volume checked. And let's go.
Okay.
So then
So they left.
they left, and then this 19-year-old foster child that moved out of the home was homeless. And the foster mom was so nice to him, she was like, "You can come back." He just started gravitating towards me. "Oh, you're gonna be my brother." And I'm just like, cool, you know, my brothers left me anyway, so I'm just like, okay, forget them, I got a new brother. And then it started, he was buying me clothes and candy and stuff and just giving me gifts. And then he was just being too nice, and I'm just like, nobody never been this nice to me, so I know dang well, something's bad gonna happen. I just felt it, like I knew something bad was gonna happen. I used to sleep really heavy because I was on medicine for depression. So I would sleep and then I felt somebody yanking my pants down. But I didn't stop him. I didn't stop him. So what I did was ball my fist up.
Wait a minute. Just sit right in that. Sit right in that, baby. Said I didn't stop him. Why not? Yeah.
Because I didn't, because I felt like I deserved it.
You deserve what? How did you know what was coming?
I didn't know what was coming, but I just felt like you got to pay the price for somebody being nice to you.
Oh.
That I've shown it a number of times, and we just want to affirm Melvin if he ever was to see one of these videos, but even not seeing it, brother, you're helping a lot of people because there are so many individuals who have experienced this type of abuse, this type of trauma, and are not transparent. And I know he reached, well, not just seeing my video. This was on national television, and so it reached a lot of people, and hit in some areas for some of those who experience things just like Melvin. Okay. And we're able to identify, like, yes, this is how this impacted me. Um, and so we want to look at a few things, right? When we're talking here. So I got a few talking points to look at. So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to get back and we're talking about splitting. And I'm not saying, I just want to tell you, I'm not saying that Melvin is splitting, but I'm giving examples of how this can occur, how it might be developed. Okay. And so let's just talk a little bit about what he said, the impact of what he had experienced. Okay. Could you possibly, I want to ask the question, could you possibly think, and this is what I want you to be thinking about, your clients, because Melvin is your client. Melvin is our client, not actual Melvin, but we're talking about, like, we're experiencing working with clients that have the same kind of background as Melvin does. Okay, and a lot of times we're not getting help. Sometimes we don't even know how to help them. Okay, it's just until recent time where we develop intervention to support some of the things that we're talking about relative to splitting. Uh, okay, but so in Melvin's case, you know, the question I'm asking, and what you have to ask yourself, could someone possibly think, or could you possibly think that you are good if you believe that, you know what, I deserve to be sexually abused? Okay. He didn't say that with his words, but he said in essence that, you know, I deserve bad things that happen to me. You know, that wasn't his exact words, but if you run it back, pretty much in essence is what he's saying is, um, basically, if you accept something good, he said, then you deserve for bad things. Let's just read here. So, could you possibly think that you are good if you believe that I deserve to be sexually abused? That's in essence what he was saying by the language that he spoke. I deserved it. Why did I deserve it? Because you know what? I should have known not to accept whatever gifts or whatever kind things were coming from this person. I should have known. So again, we're looking at potential. We want to rule out potential shame, potential blame with our client. Are you blaming yourself for that? You are a child. Okay. We've processed some of this, but let's stick with the splitting element. So I deserve to be sexually abused, which also could mean I deserve bad things. Can you deserve bad things and not think that you are bad? Can you deserve bad things? So if this is his thinking, I'm sorry, I'm kind of OCD. Um, can if I believe that I had that coming to me, okay? Um, c- can I believe that can I deserve bad things? Can you deserve bad things? If I believe that I deserve bad things, can anyone that thinks like that, can you deserve bad things and not think, okay, and not think that you are bad? Okay? Can you deserve bad things and not think that you are bad? Is that possible? If I believe I deserve bad things, can I just sit there and not think that I am also bad? Okay. All right. Something bad is going to happen if someone is nice to you, is what Melvin said. That's the belief system. Something bad is going to happen if someone is nice to you. Now, these are extremes. I'm just believing. Again, it talks about believing situations to be one way or another. I strongly believe, as a core belief about a situation, that something bad is going to happen if someone is nice to me. Okay, so many times the unconscious belief that I'm bad, in my opinion, is a split and or something similar. So if you have someone who has the unconscious belief that I'm bad, okay, because this is what happens with clients, is that a lot of times the belief that I'm bad is not overt. So if you were to ask a client, do you believe that you're bad? They'll say, no, I don't believe that I'm bad. But once you start processing things after asking certain questions and you start looking at certain scenarios, that is what it essentially adds up to. And a lot of times what you're doing is let them make the decision about what they think. Okay? Because again, I mean, how can I be under the impressions that I deserve good or that I'm good if how can I be under the impression that I'm good if I don't believe that it's inappropriate for me to receive the bad actions of someone else? I mean, Melvin is under the belief that, you know what, I deserve what I receive. Okay, because of the fact that I might believe that something bad will happen to me if someone is nice. In Melvin's case, that is going to be a defense. Okay. The fact that he believes that something bad will happen to him if someone is nice to him is a defense. Okay. He's thinking defensively because apparently at some point in time, i.e., the example that he gave, but even prior to, things that happened a certain way. when he was given something, when somebody was nice to him or something like that, then that was followed by something bad. So that thought process that he has is a defense, and that's exactly what a split is. It's a defense. I'm not saying Melvin is splitting in this situation, but many times this is how it's developed. Many times this is actually what it looks like. And if you have the thought process that you are bad, or that you deserve, if somebody does something good for you, then something bad is going to happen. I'm gonna repeat that. If you believe that if somebody does something good to you, then essentially something bad is going to happen, and that is your split, that is your defense, then how critical is that going to be in relationships that you're involved in? I mean, can you imagine how you might function in a relationship when somebody begins to get close? And the crazy thing is that you actually want the intimacy. You want the intimacy. Okay. So, what kind of bizarre things might you do to avoid intimacy if you have this core belief? Okay. So, intimacy in this situation with that type of thinking that Melvin was having at that time might equal doom in your mind. Because the closer and the more intimate I become with this person, soon and very soon, we're going to experience something bad. So then I'm going to avoid good in order to defend against bad. And this could be a split. So when does splitting commonly occur? Anybody know when splitting commonly occurs? We just talked about some of that when we talked about Melvin, but we want to get into a deeper perspective and a deeper insight as to why and when splitting commonly occurs. And so we're going to look at this video here. And boy, I still got to play this one some more, because the way and this is credit to Dr. Mike Ma, the way he breaks this thing down, him and the guest, it's just amazing. It's and this can get a little complicated, but we're gonna go on and play. All right, take some notes.
Borderlines tolerate or comprehend, like, and why do they have to defend this with splitting?
Splitting makes the most sense, you know, as a child or as a baby. All they know is that when they're in distress, everything is bad. When the distress goes away, everything is good. It's better on some level, or safer, to know that you've got a mom or a dad or someone who is good. And when they do bad things, it's safer or easier to say, well, they did the bad thing because I screwed up.
Perhaps they're stuck in some sort of immature phase of development, because you mentioned infants are doing this, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Second, you mentioned we might split because it might be safer. If there's some sort of like fear of fear of having pain be inflicted by another person, then maybe accepting someone into your life that has good and bad parts in them might be more of a risk.
That'd be a huge risk, right? Because how can you predict, right?
So it is a defense. It's born out of fear. It's keeping myself safe. I don't want anyone in my life that could potentially harm me. And then the last thing you said is the I'm bad, right? So my parents did something to me that caused me pain. It must be that I'm bad.
I messed up.
I messed up. That might also help give them more of a sense of control.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
maybe if I adjust my behavior, then this sort of like pain won't be revisited upon me by my parents. Because the reality that I can be all good and I'm doing my best and my parents can still cause me pain, that is a very difficult reality to accept. Better I'm bad, it was my fault, I'm actually in control, and if I adjust course, I won't be put into pain again. How do I warp myself so they don't hurt me? Because if they hurt me, it's only my fault, or it's completely their fault and they're evil, right? They split the other way.
Okay. All right, we're gonna stop the share on this. Oh boy. So it's a lot to cover here, but we only have a few moments left. But let's get back to what some of what was stated. And let's look at the situation with Melvin too. My parents did something to me, so that must be because I'm bad. Now, sometimes this is where it comes. In most cases, um, this is where uh, disorder is developed as a result of how caregivers, interacted with us. But it's also in the case with borderline personality disorder, individuals who split have been through significant trauma. Doesn't always have to be from the caregiver. 100%. We don't 100% know why, but most commonly there is significant levels of trauma associated with individuals who have borderline personality disorder as well as those who split. But when we look at this case here, as it was mentioned, my parent did something to me. That must be because I'm bad. Maybe that's how Melvin started to think the way that he did. Because if you look at his profile with the parent, it was some strain there with him and his siblings at the time with his mom. And so he could have started to believe that the mistreatment or whatever caregiver he was with, the treatment that he was getting from them, along with what he had lacked from his mother, it must be because he's bad. Somewhere he established in his mind that he didn't say that he's bad, but it's this thinking that ends up kind of going in that direction, and that's where we get the depression and things like that from. But let's look at this too. So he also mentioned, when a child, let's just say a young child, and we're looking here at, we're looking at a young child, and they are actually being treated in a cruel way by their parent. The child does not really understand how to grasp that, this is really my parent. This has nothing to do with me. The mind is too delicate to process clearly, that because the trust of the parent, it's hard to separate that. You think that your parent knows best, so if they're treating me in this way, it must be because of something that I'm doing. Okay. It must be something that I'm doing to deserve this abuse, whatever type of abuse that is. That's developed at a young stage, that frame of thinking at a young stage. And a lot of times this may bring on the split. Okay. This may bring on a split. So for me to think that perhaps the parent did something wrong, that's hard to conceptualize. And especially as a child, the child can't conceptualize that the parent, after the child is doing everything that he should be doing, being obedient, being a good child, it's too difficult to conceptualize that my parent is abusing me because they're bad. So it's easier in most cases to direct it to yourself because your mind is not well developed. And many times this is what ends up happening. So when we talk about, what about when the child becomes older? Okay. What happens when the child becomes older and they're in romantic relationships? It's that same type of thinking that's moved over into the relationships that says that, you know what? Because this bad thing is happening to me because I have done something wrong. It's just how it works because you're programmed to believe that there's something not good in you or something that's wrong, many times something that's bad, and that's the split. Okay, that's where that's where it comes. And to believe, well, actually, a lot of the split comes to believe that that it's not me, and this person actually does not love me, does not have my best interest, and does not care. Oh, we can't handle that, and so there we go into a split as a defense because it's too much for me to believe that a parent or that someone that I love really doesn't love me. or is not showing love towards me. So how do you process this reality as a child when your mom or dad or uncle is abusing you? Well, this is how we get into idealization versus devaluation. Okay. You have started to idealize that parent. You've idealized that loved one. You idealize that person that's really close to you because you can't handle, because you're so fearful of not being loved, accepted, fear of abandonment, that's what happens. So that's where the idealization comes from. How do you know? And this is a thing too. This is a good question. How do you know if a client is idealizing a parent? Boy, I've had this to come up so many times. Idealizing the parent. In other words, you come into the therapy room and that parent has never done anything wrong. Okay, this is the same parent that didn't do one thing for you growing up. This is that same absent parent that maybe you only saw several times in your life and that started another family. Okay. This is that same parent that abused you. Okay. But you're coming to therapy and they're idealized. And so how do we know if the client is idealizing the parent? This might be a parent that gave you up for adoption, never apologized, moved on with their life without you in it. And when you reached out, didn't want anything to do with you. Okay. And so when I come and I question you about well, let's talk about that. Have you experienced any anger or pain or indifference about what your parent, kind of having you up for adoption? Has there been any questions about that in your mind? Any anger, any pain behind this? Those are questions that you ask. Give me three things. This is when we think it's idealization going on. Three things that you feel, is this how you flip it? Three things that you feel your parent did wrong uh, concerning adopting you, or just in general. I'm just speaking in general of parents. So you're idealizing a parent. Maybe it was an adoption situation. I think you thinking your client is idealizing. Question that you might ask: give me three things that you feel your parent did wrong with raising you. I love to do that one. Okay, this is where we determine if it's idealization going on. Okay, and guess what? They can't give you anything. Why? Because there is a split. The split comes about when I have to defend. I'm being defensive. I'm afraid. I don't feel good about this. I haven't accepted the truth about this parent, and I don't accept a lot of truths about other things that happen in other relationships. I might idealize friends. I might idealize my children, other things as well, right? So we have to remember this is a defense, a protection against the truth, all cap, viewing a bad situation as 100% good when it has been 100% bad is a defense mechanism. This is a split. So that's how you tell. You ask those questions. Another way, how do you know if a client is idealizing? How do you know if a client is idealizing a spouse? Okay, you might ask them something like this: tell me three things that you strongly dislike about your spouse. All right. You might ask three things. Tell me three things that you don't like about your spouse, three things you strongly dislike. And you can use some, I'm just making this up. This is not what this is. Maybe some reverse free association. Where you time them because if they're having to think too hard, you're thinking long, you're thinking wrong, right? So I'm gonna, hey, I'm not saying you do this, but you could. Okay, so I'm going to give you, and you don't even tell them. I'm gonna set my timer and I'm gonna give you 1 minute to tell me three reasons, the first things that come to your mind, three things that you don't like about your spouse. Okay, go. All right. And so if they're having trouble, if they have to think hard and long and they can't come up with it, it's because they're split. They're split. They're defending. Okay. I'm not saying this is splitting in its essence, but this is a split. This is how it works with individuals who idealize and devalue and devaluate others who have this concern with splitting. You're seeing things as all good, all bad. We're focused a lot on all good right now. So this is the defense against the truth. And it comes, rooted in packages of trauma because the brain has been conditioned and programmed to think this way. I also, lastly, I got to end this, and I've gone way over. I didn't mean to go over this time. I started a little choppy, but I remember I had a client that was just really just being aggressive and rude and just over the top, man. I mean, this was off the chain. I mean, they you get on a session and they don't like something they hear, and then they just like, all right, I'm out, and we're virtual and they're out of the session, trying to take over session, things like that. What I recognize is that the client was splitting because what happened was is that anytime you have a client to score really high on like an ace or something, that means that it's been significant trauma, and it means that they probably don't trust people that much or overly trust people. In this case, this person didn't trust people much. And so when you have a therapist like me kind of moving in and exposing some things that, man, you didn't know about yourself, and you're saying, yeah, and then you're facing certain realities about childhood experiences and things like that, sometimes that might get a little too heavy. Maybe you need to pull back. You feel what I'm saying? But we need to notice that if your client starts to act out, many times it's because they're answering in a certain way because they're trying to avoid the truth. Things might be getting too tough for them in that situation because there's been significant trauma, and guess what? Here we go. Getting closer to you, like in the case of Melvin, is not a good thing, because anytime someone has gotten close to me in any situation and I allowed them to come in and I tried to experience intimacy with them, something bad has always happened, and I'll be dang if I'm about to let that happen today. So I'm out. And I am out, y'all. I want y'all to, if you get a moment, if you can check out some of what we have available. We have training coming up. Okay, we have if you're part of Social Workers Alabama, we have a free training coming up very soon on February 17th, and it's called Integrating Creative Arts and Behavioral Health. We hope you can join. Ooh, this has been a long one today. And we also, I gotta shorten them out, but and we have also our social work supervisor training coming up on the 23rd and 24th of March. We hope to see you there. If you're trying to get that independence, you want to start getting paid direct, come and check us out. Or if you just want to be a supervisor on the job because you're not at the point where you can get paid direct, come and see us, because this program, this is for not just for LICSWs, is for LMSWs as well, LBSWs. And so come and check us out. All right. And then we have here, attention supervisors, we've got Boundaries Without Burnout. This is a CEU course for supervisors. If you are a supervisor, you're required to have 3 CEUs. That is a supervisor training or training focused on supervision. Come and check us out. We would love to provide that for you. That one is online on demand. And then lastly, we have our DSM-5 training, which is online on demand as well for those of you all who are LICSWs and are needing to take that required DSM course. We hope to see you on next week. Y'all take care until then. All right. Bye-bye.